Welcome back, I'm Josie from Evoke Studios. I've been photographing weddings for 10 years and I'm going to help you with some tips and tricks on how to help planning your wedding. Now in our last video we spoke about the first 3 things that you do when you're going to plan your wedding, and today we're going to talk about picking your location, which is our next thing that we're going to do. The first thing you need to do in choosing a venue that's suitable for you is to have a think about your theme. Now this theme doesn't have to be 1950s, 1920s or a Disney theme. It could be a little bit more a generalised feel of how you'd like your wedding to be. Whether it's elegant and sophisticated, a little bit more relaxed, something beachy, something rustic, something vintage. That once you've decided on what you want your theme to be, that'll make it a lot easier in narrowing down the venue choices for you. Golf courses, they're green all year round. They have maintenance people that do their gardens. They're generally nice. With your golf club weddings, things to look out for, make sure that you love the wet weather option just as much as the outdoor venue. Are you wanting a church wedding? Now this may dictate to you where you're going to have your reception as well, because your reception should be within 20 minutes to half an hour from wherever you're going to get married. With beach weddings, again have a look, make sure that you really love the wet weather option as well. You may like to have your reception at a local hotel. They normally have function rooms available and accommodation for your guests. Or surf clubs can be a nice on the water option. The other thing to also note is the regulations around there. Like for instance, the Gold Coast, you're only allowed a certain number of guests on the actual beach itself. Purpose wedding venues can be great. They are experienced, they do this all the time, that's all they focus on. They normally have some beautiful little locations around the venue that makes it really beautiful for your wedding photos, and your guests don't have to travel far. Have a check with these venues what their restrictions are sometimes, especially their finish time. A lot of these places do tend to be in residential areas, which means they have noise restrictions and they have a certain time that they have to finish the reception by. As a general tip, look up. A lot of wedding venues, when you're having your photos taken, the ground is covered by people's shoes, people's feet, bags, tables, etc. But the roof is still completely clear. So they will be in all your photos and that's what people will notice. So having a venue that has some nice drapery or a chandelier or something of interest on the roof is really, really nice. City venues can be great, especially if you have a large number of guests travelling to your wedding. It'll keep your costs down for them because they don't need to travel between locations very far. In the city you have a great range of modern architecture and old classic styling. You also have some beautiful gardens and things like that around as well. If you'd like a rainforest venue, then look at somewhere like the Gold Coast hinterlands. When you're looking at these venues, do keep in mind that your guests will have to travel. For a more relaxed feel, maybe a country wedding is just the thing for you. There's lots of venues that have sheds and things like that on the property that allow you to have that really country feel. Vineyards are a beautiful place to get married. Again, they're beautiful and lush and green. They quite often have some sort of a lake there as well, which is great for the photos. Again, think of your wet weather options. And also with vineyards, there's certain times of the year where the grapes will look nice and green and others where they're just sticks. So find out what you would like it to look like and make sure that you choose the right time of year for a vineyard wedding. A home venue might be something that you've always wanted to do. This allows you to be completely DIY. Just remember that depending on the number of guests, you may need to organise things like portaloos, power, generators, lighting, heating, as well as crockery, tables, glassware, all those extra things that a venue would just have there waiting for you. The next venue I'm going to suggest may sound unusual. Anywhere. You can have your wedding anywhere. Just remember that if you're having it anywhere, it'll be unique to you. But in a venue where people don't normally get married, you may not have somebody who is able to help you with the day running smoothly, that knows what they're doing. So maybe on this occasion, if you do decide to pick somewhere a little bit out of the box, maybe a wedding planner might be something you'd like to consider. Have a pretty clear idea of how many guests you would like at your wedding. A lot of venues will have a maximum number of guests that they can fit, or a minimum number of guests that you need to come up to before that you can have your wedding there. With these venues, just try if they say they can seat 50, don't take it to its maximum capacity, because quite often that can make it really squishy for some of your guests. I have Melinda here with me. She is a function coordinator, one of my favourite ones to work with. Thank you. So, being a function coordinator, how long have you been doing that for?
So in total 6 years, but predominantly weddings for 4 years.
And I have noticed when I photograph a wedding, a good experienced function coordinator makes a hell of a difference to the actual running of the evening and making sure the bride doesn't have to worry about a thing.
Most definitely.
So what does the function coordinator do?
I think our biggest key role is obviously managing the venue and the coordination component there. So we have a thorough knowledge of the venue in itself. We know how our kitchen operates, how our banqueting team operates, and obviously what's available to us in our vicinity and in our actual property in itself. Having that background knowledge is really helpful. So obviously we help with the timing and the structure of their reception. We assist with sourcing suppliers and any sort of products that they might need, because we have the knowledge and the supplier contacts in the industry. But we also just help them. Sometimes it's quite funny, but not only do I consider myself a wedding planner, but I also consider myself a therapist, because we do on occasion have to come to the rescue in dire situations of stress and need. And sometimes just during the planning process, you do build quite a good relationship and a strong rapport with your customer base. So sometimes you're just there to be a bit of an ear to lean on while they're going through all of the planning, because it can be stressful.
So when we're looking at a lot of different venues, depending on one venue to the next, it doesn't seem to be quite clear as to what is either included or why one is so much more expensive than another.
I definitely think people have to understand the difference in products. So you can certainly have 2 different properties that offer a 3-course meal along with beverages and maybe your styling component, but it's dependent upon what type of food and what type of beverage. You get a lot of people that will inquire at smaller properties that are not as mainstream. Yeah. And their pricing structure will be significantly cheaper, generally because they're trying to bring in business. But when you're looking at a 5-star category kind of property, you do have to expect that pricing structure will be a little bit higher than most other properties, purely because the service standard and what you do receive is of a much better quality. I think nowadays though, with a lot of properties, they're moving in the direction of having an all-inclusive package, and I most certainly think that's what you want to be looking out for when you are looking at your packages and your pricing. How much is included? You'll find venues where they'll have this beautiful small pricing where you think that can't be possible, but that won't be all-inclusive for you, and then you'll continue to add things onto it. So you'll have a food price, which might be $65 per person, but then you need to add your beverage, then you need to add your styling, then you need to add in any other services that aren't inclusive. Whereas if you look at alternative packages that are all included, nowadays you're looking at something around the $150 to $200 per person mark, and that's going to get you your meals, your beverage package, your centerpieces, your chair covers, and all of the basic elements that you really do need to get your reception up and running.
So when we're looking for a venue, what sort of things should we be looking for when we're looking for a venue?
I think most importantly, you need to understand what your requirements are, but also what your guests are. I find a lot of the time when you have people that have interstate travellers or international travellers, it's really important to try and find a venue that can have everything for you in the one spot. Doing that, it does reduce costs quite significantly, not only for yourselves, but also for your guests. Yeah. They have the ceremony in the one location, pre-dinner drinks, reception in the one location, and then obviously accommodation in the one location as well where able, or at least accommodation very close by to the preferred venue of your choice. most definitely makes life a lot easier. It also helps alleviate that running late scenario when you don't have too much travel time.
Yeah.
I definitely think when looking for a venue, you also need to engage with the coordinator quite closely. It's a relationship that you develop quite significantly over the process, and I do really believe that if you don't have a fond relationship and if you don't have a good like for your coordinator, the process and the planning won't be as entertaining and won't be as enjoyable for you. In relation to venue and what they have on offer facility-wise is also very important. A lot of venues sometimes overestimate or underestimate their capacities, and I think you do need to spend a really good time going in and actually viewing those spaces and getting a good idea of what you want that space to look like, and make sure that you fit comfortably. I have been to weddings myself where I've tried to pull my chair out and I run into a waiter or I run into the person sitting behind me, and those kind of elements, knowing that firsthand, you'll be able to ask those questions of your coordinator, and then they'll know that you're aware of that process, and that's something, if they're good at their job, they'll keep at the back of their mind and ensure it's in place on the day.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Melinda, for being with us today. That's been a lot of great tips that we've had from her today. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure, and good luck everybody. I hope you've been able to take something from this today.